Well, look, we're in the commentary business, the news business, the opinion business. We got all that. But every once in a while, you have to stop talking and start doing something about it. You know the old joke. Everybody always complains about the weather, but no one ever does something about it. Well, today is the day we did something about it. You'll recall that in October, when Justin Trudeau's handpicked debates commission banned us from attending the leaders' debates, we went to the Federal Court of Canada, and in a long-shot emergency application, we won the day, and we won a court order commanding Trudeau's staff to let us in. It was a great victory, not just for journalism, but for freedom. Well, as you may know, for several weeks now, Justin Trudeau has been having these very tightly managed scrums outside of Rideau Cottage. That's what they call his 22-room mansion. We were banned from attending in person, but we were told, well, you can join by conference call. And the conference call was managed by the Canadian government, so by civil servants, by neutral, nonpartisan public servants, not Liberal Party hacks. And so more than 20 times we've dialed in and said our name and affiliation, and 20 times we were not picked, while the same pet reporters for Justin Trudeau are picked again and again, sometimes twice even on the same day. For example, the Canadian press, obscure freelancers like Justin Ling, who throws softballs at Justin Trudeau, picked regularly. The statistical odds of us being on 20 plus calls and never being called once, and other pro-Trudeau stenographers being called almost every day, well, it's to the point where it's statistically impossible. Of course it is. We're being banned. And so we've reached out to the same crack team of legal eagles who fought the censorship of us at the Federal Debates Commission and won, to fight this one too. And joining us now via Skype from his home office is our friend Aaron Rosenberg. You'll recognize him as one of the Debate Commission lawyers. Aaron, great to see you again.
Oh, so nice to see you. Thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being our lawyer. And you and your colleague, David Elmela, have put together a lawsuit and today filed it in the very same federal courthouse where we had our trial in October. And it's styled Rebel News Network Limited applicant versus Canada Privy Council Office and the Clerk of the Privy Council and Secretary of the Cabinet and the Attorney General of Canada. So we are suing the government. Why don't you take our viewers through it? I've read the document, obviously I've approved it. Tell us what the case is and what it isn't.
Well, this is a case about two very important principles. First being freedom of the press. Second being holding government to account. That means government accountability and transparency. Okay, both of which appear to be severely lacking in the context of Justin Trudeau's daily press briefings. What we have is a system that is arbitrary, that's shadowy, that's run by the Privy Council, and that is meant to provide vital information to Canadians about this ever-developing crisis. And unfortunately, these press briefings provide access to a severely limited number of appointed reporters. And as a result, media organizations like Rebel and others are denied the opportunity to put important questions to our leaders, and most particularly our Prime Minister. And so if organizations like Rebel are not able to put questions to our Prime Minister, then Canadians across the country are not being provided the information that they so deserve during these really trying times. And so we put together this application to hold the administrator of these press briefings to account so that organizations like Rebel and others can hold the government accountable for the information that Canadians deserve.
Yeah. Him hiding out in his house, not going to work for nearly 2 months. It's strange, it's bizarre. Even Boris Johnson, who got the virus and went to the hospital, he's back at work. The only world leader who's hiding out is very strange. I think he's hiding from the problems, hiding from scrutiny. And that's what gets me seriously, some of the softball questions are so unbelievable. Let me just show you two of them. Here's one where a reporter, I think from Reuters, actually said, "How are you holding up? Are you worried about burnout?" They're saying to the guy who works half an hour a day. Take a look at this.
Yeah, secondly, you're speaking to us every day. The Deputy Prime Minister is either having meetings or speaking to us. Dr. Tam is speaking to us virtually every day. What are you guys doing to prevent burnout? There's no way you can continue at this pace. Are you drawing up some sort of rota?
If you think that was a one-off, look at this series of questions in French asking with outrage that Trudeau was allowing hand sanitizer in the country without English and French bilingual labeling. I'm not kidding. This is the kind of softball questioning. It's like being kissed by a little puppy that the media party puts to Trudeau. Just take a look at this.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau.
Good morning, Mr. Trudeau. Health Canada yesterday decided to lift certain restrictions with respect to cleaning products. And the official languages committee says that this is about people's safety. Why was that decision made? And why should there not be proper information on products coming in from the United States? Does that mean, Mr. Trudeau, that there could be other exemptions in the coming weeks?
Anyhow, my point is that Trudeau chooses these loving questions, but it's not actually him. And Aaron, that's a very key point I want to tell our viewers. And you and I discussed this at length. We're not asking a court to make Justin Trudeau answer us, to make Justin Trudeau like us, to make Justin Trudeau invite us to a Liberal Party hangout. This is a nonpartisan government agency that's doing the vetting. This is not Trudeau or his political staff. This is the Privy Council office. It's supposed to treat Canadians equally, regardless of any characteristics. They're the ones who obviously have this secret blacklist, and we're trying to get through the civil service. If Trudeau says, I'm not answering the rebel, or I hate the rebel, or maybe he'll actually answer us, as he finally did in a leaders' debate, we're suing the Privy Council, which is acting like a censor, or I don't know, maybe Trudeau's nanny protecting him from any tough questions.
Well, that's right. And it's hard to bring home the critical nature of these briefings, of these opportunities. Much can be said about the content of these briefings, but this is really, House of Commons only started doing virtual sittings last week. And so this was really the only opportunity that Canadians had to see the Prime Minister, the head of state, to talking about providing updates on this pandemic as it pertains to Canadians. And so other than that, where else are you going to go for your information in terms of what the Prime Minister and what our public officials are doing about this pandemic? So if the press cannot put these questions to the Prime Minister during this opportunity, then it's highly unlikely that they'll be able to get answers to those questions.
Yeah. If Justin Trudeau wants to invite over his pet journalists, they're all on the government payroll pretty much. If he wants to invite them over for coffee, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm going to sue to get an invitation to get to the private Christmas party for Justin Trudeau. But that's not let me read from paragraphs 3 and 4 in the lawsuit, because I just want to help our viewers understand we're not actually suing Justin Trudeau. I don't believe that you should be able to sue Justin Trudeau or Donald Trump or Jason Kenney to make them answer you. Although I should note that Donald Trump loves going to CNN, and he loves taking on the toughest questions. Trudeau's a bit of a coward that way. We're suing the Privy Council office. And let me just read from paragraphs 3 and 4 of the lawsuit, because I think they make this clear. The respondent, the Privy Council office, PCO, provides objective, nonpartisan support to the Prime Minister, portfolio ministers, and cabinet in order to facilitate the effective operation of the federal government. The PCO is led by the respondent, the clerk, who also serves as secretary to the cabinet and head of the public service. The clerk's role is to advise the Prime Minister and elected government officials in managing the country from an objective, nonpartisan, public policy perspective, unquote. So that's, and by the way, folks, you can see this whole lawsuit. It's only 9 pages long. It's very plain English on the website below this. Aaron, I wanted to read that part of your beautifully drafted lawsuit because I say again, I don't expect to be allowed into a Liberal Party club event. I don't expect to be allowed into the personal home of Justin Trudeau. But if the nonpartisan civil service is having an event, they should act like the nonpartisan civil service, just like the post office should deliver my mail and the electric company should put electricity to my house. If the nonpartisan government is having a press conference, we should be allowed to make calls. And we're not. And other media have already given up. Blacklock's reporter, True North, they've simply given up. I don't want to give up. I want to sue. And I'm grateful to you guys putting together such a great lawsuit.
Well, I appreciate it. It's an honor to do this type of work. Look, these types of media organizations, independent media organizations, need to have the opportunity to put these questions to the Prime Minister during this critical time. And the Privy Council, whose purported role is to act in a non-arbitrary, non-partisan manner and to provide support to the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's office. It's hard to understand at this point why these types of media organizations cannot participate in these important briefings. And, the other thing is that, and something that you highlighted earlier, Ezra, is that, the federal government has reiterated time and again its commitment to freedom of the press, free expression in Canada. In fact, I believe yesterday was World Freedom of the Press Day, and the Prime Minister put out a statement heralding the federal government's action and commitment to freedom of the press, especially during this pandemic. And yet, this process is interfering with media's opportunity to put questions for all Canadians to the Prime Minister. And so I think that this process raises a lot of questions about the federal government's commitment or stated commitment to freedom of the press at this time.
As you were talking, you made me think about how vociferously and vigorously the Trudeau government opposed our lawsuit last time in October when they kicked us out of the leaders' debates. I remember you and your colleague David worked all weekend and you fought like crazy and you worked all weekend and the hearing was on Monday and our total legal fee was $18,000 and it was money well earned. The two of you guys and your staff worked basically 4 days straight and we won. Well, we finally saw how much the 5 Government of Canada lawyers, they billed taxpayers $131,000. I don't even know how you could do that. They only worked for 4 days also. They billed almost 10 times as much. They had 5 lawyers. It was crazy. My point is, Trudeau will go to any extreme length to stop us from asking him questions. He spent $131,000 last time. I think he's going to go crazy here. He's going to throw so many lawyers against us. And you know what? I think the worst part of it is most media party journalists at the CBC and the bailout newspapers are going to say, yeah, we don't want Rebel News there because they don't want any competitors there asking better questions than them. They don't want us to stink up the joint by asking accountability questions instead of, hey, Justin, how are you holding up?
Well, yeah, and it's also important to remember that at the Debates Commission, when Rebel was asking, was demanding access to the media scrum at the debates, well, as it turned out, when the Rebel reporters were granted the opportunity and given the access to the media scrum, in fact, they asked important, hard-hitting questions that became the standout questions at the media scrum itself. And so it's understandable why the federal government might, for political reasons, want to evade Rebel news. Ultimately, it's critical that Rebel keeps up this fight to ensure that these hard-hitting questions are being asked of the federal government and the Prime Minister, especially during these really tough times for Canadians.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we contacted you in such a rush last time because, of course, they only banned us the day, like the Friday before the Monday where the debates was. There was outlandish behavior. And I remember our conversation on the phone. You said, Ezra, I want to let you know this is a long shot. You probably won't win. It's going to cost you money. And I said, well, we got to fight anyways. And the bill was $18,000. And the miracle is we won. You and I haven't talked about the details here, but I think we should let our viewers know this is probably going to be just as large a fight, if not larger. And it's also a long shot fight because no one's ever tried this before. No one's ever said we have the right to be treated equally by the civil service to at least ask a question. If Trudeau ignores us or insults us or says pass, that's up to him. And I would never seek to command him to answer. But no one's ever tried to compel the nonpartisan bureaucracy to let a reporter ask a question. So this is new law and is very important law. Do you think that the battle here will be just as tough? Do you think it'll be even tougher maybe? I want to know because we have to crowdfund this and we've set up a page, letusreport.com. Tell me what we can expect to come in from the other side. They threw 5 lawyers at us, which was crazy. They'll probably do the same here, right?
Well, that's right. I mean, if history is any indication, money is no object in relation to dealing with this. They will hire the best lawyers in the country to fight Rebel, to ensure that Rebel is not successful in this application and that it does not proceed to ask the tough questions to the federal government, including Prime Minister. I think we're gonna see a big fight. We are facing a big battle here.
Well, I know you're up for it. You and David did such a wonderful job, and the Debates Commission. You know, I've been in too many courtrooms in my life, but that was some of the finest advocacy I've ever seen. Now, of course, I don't want to get off track, but that fight is still going. We're still battling the Debates Commission. They're still trying to shut us down. They know the next election could be here within months or even a year or so. So they're trying to bat us down. We're still fighting them. I don't think we've actually reported that back to our viewers, but this is the big fight now. Last word to you, Aaron. You filed this today and it'll be served directly on the government by the federal court if I understand their procedure. I know things are sort of in a slowdown because the courthouses are physically shut down because of the virus. So I don't know if we'll get our justice quickly. How soon does the government have to reply to our lawsuit?
Well, the government has 10 days to respond to this lawsuit by way of filing a notice of appearance. So they're on pretty strict timelines. And again, that's all subject to the current court shutdown, which we expect to be lifted fairly soon. But yes, these timelines are very short and they will have to respond very quickly.
Well, I'm glad I couldn't ask for a better team of lawyers than you and David. And you know what? I remember when you said, Ezra, this is a long shot of the Debates Commission. I remember what I said. I said, we have to do it anyways. If not us, who? And so I want to tell you in advance, I've read the lawsuit. I think it's great. I thank you and David. I hope we win. I think there's a chance we win. But even if we don't, fighting for free press and fighting against Trudeau's slow strangulation of alternative voices in this country, I can tell you right now, no matter the outcome, this was already worth it in my mind. So thank you to you.
Thank you, Ezra.
All right, there you go. Folks, if you want to help out, go to letusreport.com. I believe we can win. We won last time. We got the same legal eagles. And we got even worse censorship that just couldn't be clear about. It's statistically impossible what they've done, and I want to air that out. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.